going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Rimmen, aka All Fires. What a time to be a Marvel fan, and it's seriously about to be everything all at once for the studio as well. Not only do we have Captain America Brave New World dropping on February 14th, but then a month and a day later, Daredevil Born Again drops on Disney+, and at the very same time, they're going to start filming on Avengers 5. Now, I'm super excited because Marvel has started filming a lot of their blockbuster stuff live on sets on location instead of on sound stages. It just looks better if you don't need the background to be CGI, and so maybe one or two of those are going to come out like they did for Deadpool and Wolverine. In the meantime, a huge article dropped yesterday from the Russos discussing why they came back. We'll mention that during this video, but we're going to get into an update from Daniel RPK, where obviously it's been super exciting to hear all of the updates and watch the cast list for Avengers 5 grow to what it is, and now we're adding on two major characters that I just briefly referenced during this video. We're breaking it all down, the new cameo announcements, and what the Russos had to say about the story specifically that has them all coming back. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do, guys. Thank you to everyone who subscribed in the last couple of months. My analytics indicate still there are a lot of you who are watching the channel daily, which is awesome, but maybe haven't subscribed yet, which is totally cool. I actually realized I was doing this with some of my favorite channels over the last 6 months or so. I would just kindly invite you to do so. It's the #1 thing you can do to support a channel, and I would sincerely appreciate it. Now, incidentally, right before this article dropped and just days ago at the channel, we covered a report from industry insider Daniel RPK. You guys can follow him over on RPK News, that indicated that while they have the main plot intact for Avengers 5, the main story they want to tell, you'll see why that's apropos here in a second, they still haven't finished the script, which, as I remarked, is pretty much standard course for Marvel Studios. They continue to rewrite scripts while they're filming, but still, it would be better if the script was done. Well, Daniel RPK actually added a follow-up update now via his Patreon late last night that included additions to the Doomsday cast list. He said, as for Marvel, quote, I hear Deadpool and Wolverine will have a role in Doomsday, and now officially confirming them alongside a ton of cast members that we got from a Production Weekly 2 weeks ago, which include not only the Fantastic Four, but also the Thunderbolts, Captain America Anthony Mackie, Chris Evans in a multi-Captain America variant role as it's been reported, Haley Atwell, and Scarlet Witch Elizabeth Olsen. Okay, so it shouldn't be that big a surprise now that Deadpool and Wolverine have been added to the cast list of characters for Avengers Doomsday. We were actually hearing this back before it even dropped last summer, that Kevin Feige was so impressed with the film that he wanted Deadpool and Wolverine to be in both Avengers movies, and that they even offered the director first crack, turning down Avengers 5 after Destin Daniel Cretton had left the project and they were not calling it Kang Dynasty. Now, that hasn't been confirmed, and obviously it looks like maybe the Russos were a target for quite a while. We'll talk about that in just a sec, but I mean, that might have more to do with it than anything. I mean, think about it. If you're the Russos and you shot Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Civil War to some respect, although keep in mind they were able to bring in Black Panther and Spider-Man during that movie, you were severely limited with all of the Fox rights still tied up over at that studio. It was their wildest dream to include Hugh Jackman Wolverine, and now it's actually going to become a reality. So I could see from the get-go them saying, oh, we're coming back, which characters are we going to use, and just moving Wolverine right to the top of the list. And because he's paired with Deadpool in the way that he is, Deadpool tags along too. Plus, it's undeniable that Deadpool and Wolverine was one of the most successful movies of the recent years from Marvel, maybe outside of Spider-Man No Way Home. So it would have been a real oversight if, say, they included She-Hulk on the team, but not Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Now, obviously, the fact that the Russos have to wade through all these ingredients and then ultimately cook this soup in a way that makes sense and is intriguing, with as many threads as they still have left hanging from storylines Marvel didn't bother to clear up before we got to this point in the Multiverse saga, you have to imagine that there was some trepidation on their side. As per this brand new article coming out just the other day and from Empire Magazine, they claim that it was exactly that. Them coming back wasn't a sure thing, as the article goes on to report, quote, not that returning to the MCU was an obvious move. Quote, Endgame was the end, and it took a little time for us to begin to think about it as something other than the end, Anthony Russo tells Empire in a major new interview, sitting down with Joe Russo and screenwriting duo Marcus and McFeely to talk about their ongoing partnership, including this year's The Electric State. For the gang, Marvel was never too far away, even after all left. We were still very close with Kevin and Lou D'Esposito, Marvel Studios co-president, and the entire Marvel team, and we've had conversations through the years. We've talked about a lot of ideas, Anthony Russo says, and then inspiration for Secret Wars was struck. Quote, really what happened was, we ended up stumbling upon an idea that activated all of us, he teases. You couldn't see it coming until it came, and once it came, it was like, well, that's a story we need to tell. It wasn't always a sure thing that the Russos and McFeely would return. Marcus is absent this time, keeping projects running at the Russos' Agbo production company. Quote, there were ideas that we were trying to wrap our heads around that preceded this one, and we just never really found the story, Joe Russo admits. But it all gelled together when McFeely hit on somehow Secret Wars comic arc might work in the MCU form. Quote, I remember calling Steve and being like, hey, crazy idea. What do you think if we all go back and do Secret Wars? Joe Russo says. Quote, you were like, F no, absolutely not. And then you hung up. And the next morning at 7:30, you called the Russos back and were like, all right, I have an idea. Roll call, the MCU's creative Avengers are assembling once more. So here's the major takeaway, and this is what I said in our video covering the fact that the script's still being written. It's not that big a deal that they don't have the finer details worked out. They have a habit of doing that while they're in production. Plus, the Russos, they did this before. Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, these are the two guys who are uniquely prepared to film Secret Wars and Avengers Doomsday. So I have a lot of faith in them that even though the finer details for the final script aren't worked out, that whatever this story he's talking about is, the reason, the impetus for them all to come back is enough of a good one that if they all had that eureka moment together and all felt convicted in that way, that it's going to be good enough to carry this story. And honestly, it also makes me not worry about the whole thing, because that's what you need, is the story. And that's some of the thing that's been most lacking for Marvel Studios in 4 and 5, in these phases where they introduced some really cool characters, but the story was never really there. The point of view characters, let alone, never really presented themselves. And so we're not really sure how this all works together, which makes their job even harder. But if they know where they're trying to go, that informs them a lot about the decisions they need to make along the way, and at least they can see the destination point. If that wasn't a thing, well, then we should all be worried. But from right here and right now, and with this cast, the way that it's been assembled, it sort of sounds like an all-timer. You guys let me know all your thoughts, though, down below. What do you think this one plot point is we'll have a future video coming out on a theory about what this story might actually be and why they would be so excited to tell it. I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff. Still giving away PlayStations. It's right around the corner for the next 3. Super simple to be entered to win. All you got to do is be a sub, leave a comment, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. Make sure you hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on to keep up with the videos. And of course, if you like today's video, super appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on all platforms wherever you listen to original music: Spotify, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you get your music, under the name All Fires. Well, I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out. Thanks to you who already have. I really appreciate you checking this channel out. And just, again, hit the sub button. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know if you do. No one's gonna know if you don't, but you can do it. You can do it right now. You can just hit that sub button, and then here we are. We're all just hanging out, but now you're subbed. It's the only change. I'm just kidding. Do whatever you want. See you in the next one. Peace.